Hey, good morning everybody. Mark Burgess here, Big East Bass Fishing. I say good morning because it's morning right now where I'm at making this video. Not something that I usually do, but you got to do it when you have the time to do it, right? So early on a Friday morning. Today I want to talk to you about something I want to talk about for a while. It's not controversial or cutting edge technology, or we're not going to debate forward facing sonar or AI or anything like that. But back to just basically fishing, I want to talk about a recent article in Bassmaster. It's an annual thing that they do, 2025 100 best bass lakes. Okay, so I haven't read how they come up with this information, whether it's from us, the readers, or their own opinions, tournament lakes. Maybe that's something that they do. They poll maybe the Bass Nation directors or presidents. I don't know. But anyway, it's interesting. It's something I've always paid attention to since they've been doing it, and since I fished the Elite Series. I've been fortunate in my life and really my fishing career, starting in the I started going around, would have been 96 or so, to travel the country and fish a lot of these lakes. So I've been fortunate, I've been blessed to fish a lot of these lakes. And typically, when I look at the top 100 bass lakes, according to Bassmaster, give or take, it's usually right around 50% of them that I've traveled to and fished, mostly tournaments on. So that's what I want to talk about. So we'll go through them. I'll try to mention, I'm going to try to keep it, this relatively short, but talk a little bit about my experience on that body of water. And then what I'd like to hear is, if you've ever fished these particular bodies of water or other bodies of water, what is your favorite bass lake or body of water? Whether it's, you might have gone there as a kid camping with your family or fishing, or, done well in a tournament, you just like the general area of the country, whatever it may be. So Bassmaster top 100 lakes, 100 best bass lakes. Okay, so I went through and highlighted them. I think I have, almost 40 of them that I've visited in this particular edition. 36 of them. So they start off with, they don't really go from 1 to 100. They kind of break it down into geographical areas. But the first one they have on the list is Clear Lake, California. Yes, I fished Clear Lake, California, 2010. We went there back to back from the Delta to Clear Lake, one of the Elite Series. So that trip was amazing. I've talked about it and some of the stories from the road. Just good times. First time that I'd driven across the country from here, and it was a phenomenal experience. Clear Lake, just a fantastic lake. My dad actually fished out there when he was out west. When he drove across the country right after he got out of the Air Force, he went out. He fished Clear Lake. So Byron Velvick, I think it's probably most famous for winning a tournament out there in a big swim bait. That area still played. I remember getting on some decent fish in practice, and I couldn't relocate those fish. Caught fish, but it was I wasn't really on the deal. Close to it, but water down at the end of the lake where the water was more off color is where a lot of the guys did their damage. And the clear water in Clear Lake, was a little bit tougher to fish for most. But interesting place for sure, surrounded by mountains. Just the geography is crazy. You get the feeling, I get the feeling if you've never been out there, that the area is not finished developing yet, and I believe that to be true. It's just you know, it's in transition for sure. Gotta have my coffee, right? I know you know that. Lake Fork, Texas. Yeah, been there several times. Just amazing, amazing fishery. I think probably my best story is, you know, I fished the very first Toyota Texas Bass Classic that they ever had, and on Lake Fork, and I was paired up with Andy Morgan, and it was just a crazy, just loaded with stumps and wood and standing timber, really good grass as well, just cut up. It fishes. It's not really that big. I want to see what they. Put my glass on here. So this 27,690 acres. It fishes like 4 times or more bigger than that. But paired up with Andy Morgan, knew of him obviously, but first time I'd met him and spent time with him. And I remember telling him, I said, yeah, in practice, he said, they're eating a buzzbait really well. He says, well, that's awesome. He said, but they're eating a jig, swimming a jig, even better. And we paired up and we did awesome. I mean, we were in 4th place the first day, had, you know, a huge bag. I had an over. I had one 7 and change that was over, able to weigh it in. They had a huge country music concert in conjunction with the weigh-in, and it was just a sea of people and this giant show, outdoor show to go along with it, for the fishing community or whoever sponsors to display their product. And Caterpillar was there, just to name a few, but it was just, the crowd was huge. I got to go ride in a Toyota with Andy up to the front of the stage. Fishburne was the MC. You know, he recognized me, right? You know, I knew him really well from fishing the Opens and the Invitationals. And, you know, get up there, was able to weigh that fish in front of this massive crowd. You know, I don't have any pictures of that, which I really wish I did. Maybe there's somewhere, I don't know. I'm sure somebody's got a picture. There were people taking pictures, but anyway, that was pretty awesome. And I've fished there several other times while I was in Texas, and just a crazy good fishery. So this video is going to go a little bit long, I can already tell. So that was Lake Fork. Second one was O.H. Ivy. I've not fished that lake. If you have, let me know what it's like. Their 4th lake here, and I'm going to try to go in order, but you really can't when they get to the part where they break it off into regions. But St. Lawrence River, you know, what can I say about that place, right? It's just probably, if not arguably, the best smallmouth fishery on the planet. If there's a better smallmouth fishery, I'm not aware of it. It's crazy, you know. And I fished that in the 90s. That was one of the lakes that was part of the 4 tournaments that were on the Eastern Invitationals. My first full year fishing as a professional bass fisherman. I had fished Hartwell in the fall, like 96, 97 was my first full year on Bassmaster Invitationals, those 4 tournaments. I remember going there from a club tournament on the Cape on Wequaquet that I had won. We used a Mega Bass format. Won that tournament, drove up, and just a wild place. Beautiful lake, just beautiful. Currents, unbelievable. I didn't know anything about it. I launched the boat in this marina, and first thing I noticed was that there was grass everywhere, and it was like, wow, this is fishy, man. You know, and that, you know, it's weird. It's like, geez, you're thinking like, wow, bass should live here, right? Why wouldn't they? And they did. Largemouth played big. Rick Lilligard won that tournament on largemouth. And prior to that, you know, they've been up Lake of the Isles in that area. You know, Roland Martin had won in there, and a lot of the, you know, just, you know, guys like Jimmy Houston and stuff like that, just doing well up there. But yeah, the smallmouth fishing wasn't anywhere near what it is now. Okay, there were no gobies, no zebra mussels. It was still good fishery. I mean, Van Dam won there. I remember being in line for the registration. and Sherry and Kevin came walking up, and they had their two sons, their twins, newborns, which were born premature, had them out on tour. Both of them were on oxygen, and each of them was holding one of them, standing in line with the kids on oxygen, waiting to register. And then the weather was kind of weird, so Bass came out and grabbed them and brought them in, so they wouldn't have to stand outside in line, holding their babies. Over the years, fished it, I can't tell you how many times, and the last time was we had a regional there, and it had been a while since I'd been there, and 4 fish limit, and guys were asking me, hey, what can you tell us about it? The team, my team members, Mass State team. I told them, I says, 4 fish limit.